Welcome to ladder training. Today's scenario, we have two different scenarios for you. We're talking about stabilization of vehicles, stabilization of large vehicles, or complex crashes. You have many tools at your disposal. You have your airbags, your cribbing, and the rescue jack struts. And the point of the exercise is to help you combine those and maybe take it back as a crew prior to coming out here to training and come out with some new ideas. The first scenario today, you have a liquid load which tends to shift. If there's a leak in the tank, it's going to be constantly shifting, constantly moving, and the load is constantly going to be changing. If we have patients trapped in a car like this, you're going to have an extrication crew working. Therefore, we need to have this thing stabilized completely so that crews can actually work on this car and get the patient out. You have a round object which you're starting to stabilize. The load is very, like I said, shifty. And with that, you have a very thin-skinned material. You're looking at a pretty tall space for airbags and cribbing. Not saying that is not an option at all, but you got to remember that you have many options here that you have to crib. You have a car, and in this scenario, the tires are already flat. However, this car will still shift. So we need to look at cribbing from the bottom all the way up. On this scenario, we're not looking to lift the tanker up. We're looking to stabilize the tanker. Tankers, like I was saying, are very thin-skinned. We can't punch holes in this. This top part, if it is anything of a fuel truck, this on this rig here is a vapor barrier. If that's the case, then we don't want to even mess with a possible strut into this. On the belly chain scenario, we used your grade A chain. We're actually using this as a setup to cradle the tanker. We want to cradle the tanker so that the weight, as it's down on this, will keep that car from going down any further. This is an actual tanker trailer. So you have to remember that you're going to have the possibility of this with the fluid and the way it's shifting. You're going to have crews on top. So we're looking at safety for the whole operation. You're going to want to crib any which way possible. You know, you're going to have 4x4 posts. You're going to have composite cribbing at your disposal. You're going to have airbags at your disposal. A lot of weight being distributed on the side of these cars is not a good thing. They're made to distribute the weight evenly. So we want to, you know, hold it up. And the point of this one is to belly chain it. We come under here. We crib underneath the tires to help keep shift. And then on the back side, we're looking at possible rescue jack strut. So it's very important that we keep the whole load from shifting. And just in practice sessions with hazmat teams out here, before we started strutting this, there was a lot of shift. So that's why it became a good operation for ladder company training. So there is a lot of options for these. And the point of this exercise is that we want you to go back, think about different options to hold this tanker in place.
For some of you guys, you may have had your hands on the struts already. For those that's kind of new, we're just going to go over the real basics of the strut components. We got two different size jacks. We have two large jacks and two small jacks on either truck. This jack, the large jack, goes 96 inches, so it's 8 feet. The smaller jack is a 7-foot jack, fully extended. When they're not side by side, the easiest way to tell the difference is the distance to that collar. You can notice the difference in space if they're on the ground and you're not sure which jack you're picking up. That's an easy way to look at it. The working load of these jacks is 10,000 pounds fully extended for either jack. It makes no difference whether you have the pin in the top or through this hole. The working load is still the same on both of those jacks. If we do use the jack for a lift, here's our jack for doing our lift. If we're using the jack, the working load now comes down to 6,000 pounds. We have 4 jacks, 1 for each strut. In the bags that you guys have on your trucks, we have these ratchet straps here. We've got 4 different ratchet straps. Working load on these is 3,300 pounds. We've got grade 8 chains. I believe they're 16 feet long. We've got 2 grade 8 chains in each truck. We've got the large hook, which is called a Sling 15 hook, and then we've got the Sling 8 hook with a 4-foot chain, grade 8 chain, with clusters on the bottom. These different clusters are used for the knockouts on the bottom of a vehicle. Same deal as a tow truck driver uses. Just gives us some different options for hooking up to the bottom of the vehicle, the car, the chains, whatever we have. It just gives us some options. We have 2 of these on each truck, as well as 2 of the smaller clusters. Working load on these, I believe, is around 6,000 pounds, and these is 5,500 pounds. So we also have a couple different heads if we're going to use these struts for shoring purposes. As you'll see in our next scenario, we may have to pop out the heads. For those of you guys that haven't pulled your trucks off, when these things first came to us, they had a bolt system through here. In your bags, if you take apart your setup, there's also a pin that can be swapped out for those bolts. So if you need to move these heads, it makes it a lot easier. You guys might want to check that and just see whatever you guys want for your setup. That's just another option that you have. Each truck also has 2 of these pickets, which we can use for not only stabilize the base of the jack if we nail it through the D-ring on the bottom, but also to support the vehicle from slipping. These things will drive right through the asphalt if need be, or the dirt or whatever. Just another option that we have for that. That's pretty much the contents of these bags. If you guys haven't put your hands on them before the training, if you guys want to pull them out, make sure you guys have everything you need to go through these different scenarios.
Okay, we're here at the second scenario. You got 2 vehicles that have crashed into a house, and you have a patient that needs to be extricated from underneath the vehicles. What we want, again, is to look at this scenario as a crew and tabletop it. Think about how the fastest, most efficient, and safe way for firefighters to get underneath these cars to get this patient out. Number 1 thing on all scenarios is always going to be firefighter safety. We're always using our risk management profile for that. They also want you to look at the component of if a vehicle does go into house, and many of our ladder crews have been on these scenarios, the stability of the house itself, or the walls, or the roof structure. Point of the matter is that we need to stabilize where we're working. So we want you to look at that component of this exercise as well as, okay, we have cars into a house, we have a patient, we have the possible collapse of the structure on firefighters. We need to build underneath these cars to get to the patient, okay? So we're asking you to go back to your stations as a crew, talk about it, come out to ladder training, and let's put these scenarios to work.
Okay guys, as Trey's already gone over with the scenario with you, most of you guys are familiar with the airbags. Not much has changed on these for quite a while. However, if you haven't gotten them out in a while, it might be a good idea to get into the trucks and make sure everything's in order and your airbag setup. First component of the airbag setup is, of course, the bottle. We use the bottles right off our truck. When we've changed bottles, we got new connectors for these airbags that just screw right on the bottle itself. So make sure all your connectors are up to date and ready to go. This is your actual regulator to convert the pressure from the bottle into the working pressure of the airbags. These airbags operate very well on low pressure. The maximum pressure we're going to use on these is 118 psi. As you can see, we've got 5 different hoses, 4 different colors. In the black hose, there's no difference between any of these hoses. However you guys decide as a crew you want to set them up. We generally hook the black up to our regulator and then to our control valve. But however you guys have decided to do that, these are just push connectors. And they also have, once they're connected, you got the little spin lock as another safety mechanism. So this will just slip right into your regulator, and the collar will twist on like so. The other end of this goes to our control valve, to the single inlet on the control valve, and this is our controller for operating the airbags. One thing that's missing in this box, you'll notice, is these Y connectors right here. The Academy box is missing those. Generally, if we're going to run up to 4 bags, it's always good to set it up as if you're going to need them. It's a little bit more difficult to set them up at a later time, so we'll put our Ys into there, and our individual connectors will snap into the Ys the same way. Spin lock, and here's our on-off valve. Inline, of course, is open. Perpendicular is off for as we're controlling. These bags, check the condition of these bags, make sure there's no tears or anything. They're very strong bags. Each bag is rated at nearly 28 tons of lift capacity, so they're quite stout. Biggest thing to check on these is these these little ends right here, sometimes they get pinched in the door, and if those aren't round, they don't create a good seal with the hoses. And we've had some crews saying that their hoses have come off during a lift, whether they're training or on a call. So make sure that all your ends are round. Otherwise, get those sent back to the air room and get them replaced. The max pressure on these bags is 118 psi, but they'll operate much lower than that. Generally, we'll want to stack at least 2 bags if we're going to do a lift. Make sure you center the X's on top, and biggest bag goes on the bottom. Again, with these scenarios that we're talking about, guys, when you come for ladder training, we're not going to be telling you what to do and how to do it. It's going to mainly be a scenario, and you guys are going to be available to go to work and do what you guys want to do. And as Trey was talking about, you know, these are just another tool on the truck. It's up to you guys to figure out how you want to do it and how to get these patients out from these different scenarios.